Okay, and we're back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor Richard Forster. Richard Forster, what's next on the agenda?
Well, I'll go back.
Okay, do that.
Mule Creek State Prison, I'll just say it's at 10 o'clock. It's a very complicated issue. As you said, not all the agreements are in place between the state of California, the city of Ione. With lacking those agreements, it's hard to just figure it's a done deal at this point. I mean, and do you trust the state? Because as I understand it, after the final EIR is completed, and they're out for review right now, anyone has 30 days to challenge that. If those agreements are not in place, do you just sit back? If you're the city of Ione, do you sit back then and not challenge? If you're the county, do you sit back and not challenge? You need to know that those agreements are in place. I think it's pretty clear that otherwise we have seen the state renege on things that they've said in the past. So we need to just take this one very carefully.
Okay.
Next up, we have a small water program agreement. This is between the state of California and our environmental health department. This is what it takes to get an agreement with the state, and a very long agreement. It's no different than ones that we've agreed to before, but basically what it comes down to is small water systems that take care of less than 200 people is what our environmental health department would be basically getting passed to it from the state. Anything over 200 connections goes to the state and they handle it. In this case, it's mainly, I think there's 8 entities here: Pardee Recreation Area, okay, Comanche Hills, Hunting Preserve, Rab Park, Lake Amador Recreation Area, First Mesa Meadows, Unit 2, Comanche North Shore, and AWA Lamel Heights would be the areas that our environmental health department would be having oversight for. And that oversight includes a couple different areas. One is the actual monitoring, 2 is the reporting that they'll take care of, and 3 is if they have to, the enforcement. So our environmental health department would become the enforcement agency if they have to. This has not been an issue with enforcement while we've had previous agreements like this, so I'm not anticipating any issues with this agreement in place either. The state does have concurrent authority, where if they feel you're not doing the job, though, they can come in and take it away from our environmental health department. So Mike Israel does a pretty good job in that department, and also on that issue, Bob Ford, our environmental health specialist, retired, so we'll be Mike's going to be asking to go out and advertise for that environmental health specialist position too, to hire that position. Next up, we have 2 things that came from our Public Works Committee. The first one, I told me I have read it once. I'm gonna have to go back and read it again. Part of it is these are changes, and this one is an addition: the regulations for limited density owner-built rural dwellings. It's something that they feel needs to be done. I'm not quite sure why. I can see it for cabins upcountry, maybe hunting shacks and things like that, where you don't need to be quite so heavily regulated. But this sounds like it's actually going to allow anyone that's outside of the incorporated area be an owner-builder and have a more relaxed schedule of building as far as the materials that they use, the timelines that they have, and the fees that they pay. I don't mind giving up on some of the fees, but I want to make sure that safety is not an issue there too. And it's almost like the way I read this right now, it's almost like owner beware, that what you build, if we get approved, we don't have any responsibility for it. You built it. If we say it's okay, then you're responsible if it falls down.
That state is like, are you talking about that as these would be like cabins or second homes?
No,
or?
Because this could be a primary dwelling.
Okay.
So it's an owner-builder. It could be a primary dwelling, though. So it concerns me a little bit that you're alleviating some of the building standards, and we're going to really need some input from our building department. But that's what concerns me, is that if you're not going to require them to live up to the complete building requirements, then how much liability does the county have if you have a structural failure in that structure that's put up? The other thing is they say it cannot be for the purpose of sale, lease, renting, or employee occupancy of owner-built structures, you cannot sell the structure within 1 year of the time that you built it. But the way I read it, it's almost like a buyer beware, an owner beware type thing, that if you put up
Would
something
these be
like this...
spec houses, possibly spec houses as well? I mean, I don't know. Is there any?
No, because I think it's got to be a primary residence, the way it reads.
Okay.
So that's why I have to read through it one more time. It was a lot of this was very confusing. I see.
And where does this come from? Where is
coming
this being
from our
initiated from?
Public Works Committee, which is Supervisor Plaza
Okay.
and Oneto.
Okay.
The problem with doing something like this is you put a lot of outs in it for people. And, you know, I don't mind relieving people of the fees, but I do want to make sure it's structurally correct and it's safe for people to live in. I don't really like opening it up to everyone to do this. It seems to me like hunting shacks.
Well, it would seem like it would be good. However, just to throw something out there, liability down the road is always questionable. It might be fine for you, the first person, second person, you know, whatever. But then someone comes along and says, "Well, why wasn't this done this way and that way?" And
well, for
it
instance,
becomes cloudy, right?
For instance, on the start, it says the limited density owner-built rural dwelling is constructed without plan check or inspections for wind or seismic loading conditions. If you're doing some work on a owner, what is it, limited density owner-built rural dwelling upcountry, and you think you have enough, but you're not having to check for the seismic, for the wind or seismic loading. You know, they get some
Right.
pretty good winds up there sometimes. So
Or snow load.
it sounds like snow load is probably one that's going to be checked by the department. But it's a little bit confusing at this point. I think we need to have the discussion with the committee and have them go through some of these points. I see some areas in here that I do have some
It would
concerns
be,
about.
you know, Richard, I'd just like to say, it would be okay with me if we all, you know, accepted responsibility, but, you know, and did this for whatever we do. But someone's always going to come along
Yeah.
to me and then say, yeah, but, you know, someone needed to be responsible to make sure this was right for other people later down the road.
Well, it gives the chief building official reasonable judgment that he may exercise in what is good and what is bad. But, you know, the other thing I find kind of funny is, says it's further intended that you're allowed to use substitute materials to construct the dwelling to the specifications prescribed by the Uniform Technical Codes to the extent that a reasonable degree of health and safety is provided by these modifications. What's a reasonable degree of health and safety? Does that mean that if the building comes down in a storm or something that it's unreasonable?
I'm not sure, but that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of questions there. This next one is going to be, it came from our Public Works Committee also. This is on the 1530 and revisions to our 1530 code, which I'm not opposed to, but the only problem I have right now is the changes were made in the proposed ordinance, but there's nothing highlighted to show what was taken out, what was put in. It's always good when you're reviewing something to be able to
Right.
see, okay, what did you guys take out and what are you putting in the document?
It's supposed to get something with the line outs.
That's right. So it's really helpful to see something like that, and absent of that, I'm not prepared to make a decision on something like this. And they may be the best changes that have ever come before us, but
Sure, but it's good to see them.
I just still think, as a person voting on it, I need to see the changes. The last two items are very quick. We have the California State Association of Counties and the RCRC Regional Council of Rural Counties selection of our delegates to those organizations.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching TSPN's news. This is certainly going to be an interesting Board of Supervisors meeting. You might want to make it. So thanks for watching TSPN. We'll see you again next time. You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.